Hello, my good friends. This is your friend Johnny Watkins Sr., and I am excited to be before you today to talk about this particular topic of education. It's been a while since I been before you to talk about and some of the things that's on my mind and things that's going on in the world today. Um, and I've been, receiving a lot of phone calls from some of you, and I really appreciate it, and some texts asking when I'm going to do this again. And so here we are. I want to take out about maybe 20 or 30 minutes to talk about this particular topic, something that's important to me, and I think is very important to the Black and Brown community. It's just my opinion what I'm going to be giving to you today. Doesn't mean that what I'm saying is correct, although I'm going to give you some data and stats to back that up. But I ask you to do your own research, and if you disagree or even agree, let's have that dialogue in the comment section, because the more we talk about this, the more we're going to learn from one another, and we can be better prepared to helping our community and people, and especially our children. All right, so this is what I'm going to talk about today is nothing to bash no particular race. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the white race, the Anglo-Saxons, and I'm going to be talking about the African Americans. All right, and I'm just going to show you the difference in how things work out as far as on the educational side. So please, erase that from your mind, thinking that I'm here to bash. I'm here to bash white people, or I'm here to bash black people. I'm not here to bash anyone. I just want to give you some food for thought. And then hopefully you'll give me some your opinion back, or what you thought of what I had to say in the comment section, and then we can go out and do great things based off of the information that we learn from each other and communicate with one another. So I want to talk about education. All right, I'm not here to knock education at all. As you can see behind me, I have my degrees. All right. A few years ago, I went back to school, and I got my minor, and I got my bachelor's, and I got my master's degree. So, and my children have their degrees, and my youngest son is working on his degree. So I'm all about education, because we teach this at a young age. Education is power. Education is power. Nowhere, you can't get around that. You're gonna have to have some education to be considered, to sit at the table and have a voice. Right? I mean, some of us are gifted, where we don't have to have that much education, but you still gonna have to have the basics. I don't care. You have to have the basic of how to read and write, all right, and how to comprehend. So I'm all about education, and but I want us to take a look at how education is either working for us as a black people, as a black race of people, or is it possibly working against us? All right. So the first thing I want to say is that, hey, our African American females, you all are winning. Within the last couple of years, I think the last 3 or 4 years, I looked at the data the other evening, that our African American women are the leaders of getting higher education, college degrees, and the PhDs, the doctorals, and all those different things, leading the race and gender. All right, and I applaud you, and you're getting promoted, and you're getting some very some good jobs. I mean, I want to read off the stats here. It says, according to the National Center of Education, let me make sure I read this correctly. The National Center for Education Statistics, between 2018 and 2019, black women made up 68% of associate degrees, 66% of bachelor's degrees, and 71% of master's degrees, plus 65% of doctoral, medical, and dental degrees. That's way over half in the average. 66%, 71%, 65%. Black women are doing great things as far as going out there and getting their education, and I applaud it. I applaud it 100%. Black men, we're not, we're not that far behind, but we're not nowhere near leading as far as like the black females are, and we surely are falling short as far as being promoted and getting these jobs, which we will talk about a little bit later. But the point that I want to make here is, this really us going out there and getting this education, is it really helping us? And one of the reasons why I say that, listen to this. I got this information. where it says, while education may be soaring to new heights for black women across the United States, pay disparities continue to haunt the community, even those with the most impressive qualifications. On average, black women earn roughly 38% less than white men every year. 38% less than white men. So think about that now. Our black women are out there leading education as far as what race and what gender, leading, right? Getting out there, getting their degrees, but yet almost close to 50% less in income. 50% less than income. So I'm concerned about this because there was a time when I was a child, right? I'm 56 years old. So when I was a child, a lot of black people weren't going off to school, weren't going off to college in droves like we are now, right? And so the word back then was that, hey, if you had your education, you was guaranteed you're going to be in a supervisor's position, you're going to be in a manager's position, you're going to be in a higher management position, executive level position, and you're going to make good money. You was going to make a lot more, like $10,000, $20,000 more than those that did not have education, right? Is that still the way it is today? I don't think so. Because here, I want you to listen to this. This is a scale. Again, I'm not here to bash no particular race, but I'm just going to give you what the stats show. Now, the stats may be wrong. I don't know. But, we have to have a reference point to something, right? So for those of you that want to maybe argue, well, those stats are wrong, well, okay, well, then show me some other stats that, that you want to defute what I'm saying here. But listen to this. This is between black and white, all right? And this is a poll that was given, economic snapshot, not a poll, but an economic snapshot of average hourly wages between race. Now, this is from 2015, all right? I couldn't find one for a little bit later than this. So we're going to go over 2015, okay? So it says if you have less than a high school degree, the average white person makes $13.57 an hour. The average. The average black person with less than a high school degree makes $11.25 an hour. $2 difference. All right. If you have a high school degree, the average white person makes $18 an hour. The average black person, $14.24. It's almost a $4 difference. Now we're going to a college degree. Well, some college or maybe associate degree. The average white person, $19.80. Average black person, $15.85. That's almost $4, close to it. If you have a college degree, you have a bachelor's degree, you have a master's degree, or let's just say a bachelor's degree. The average is $31.83 for the average white person. For the average black person, $25.77. It's almost $5. That is a $5 difference. Close to $6. That is $6 difference. All right, so what about the advanced degrees, the masters, the PhDs? The average, $39.82 for a white person, $33.51 for a black person. Close to $6 difference. Right? Close to $6 difference. So, we're going to school in droves. We're getting these degrees because, and I don't know what happened. And maybe, it was blame it on ignorance, or we just didn't know. When I was a child, again, a lot of people weren't going off to school. And we didn't know about these Pell Grants and these student loans. And maybe that information was out there. I can speak for my household. My parents didn't finish high school, so they didn't know. My parents was hardworking. They went and they worked at, these plants and different businesses, and they worked there for 20, 30, and 40 years, and they earned, what they thought was pretty good pay, and they got a nice pension. Those days of pensions are almost gone, but they didn't know about school. They didn't know about college and how, they just knew to take out a loan. When I went off to school, because I went off to college, really shouldn't have went off because my study habits were terrible. And I didn't last there but a couple of years. But my parents took out a loan. They took out a loan for me to go off to school, right? And so what I'm saying is now, we have this ability, and I'm not sure we've been hoodwinked where we now sending our kids off and saying, hey, go get your degree, because this is going to put you in a better position to one, be in a supervisor or a management position, and you're going to make some outstanding money. But the stats are showing that that's not really the case, right? I have a good friend of mine, a good friend that has a daughter that went off to school, 4-year school, and got her degree, right? And came out and got a job very quickly, but making about $34,000 a year. $34,000 a year, that comes out to about $18 an hour. Now, if you're saying that's good, now let's go back to the stats. The stats said that the average white person with a high school diploma makes $18 an hour. The average, right? So, is this really working out? Because there was a time when again, I want to circle back to when I was a child, that, my mom and my dad, they worked. I remember hearing them complaining that they've been on the job 10, 15, 20 years. And then they were hiring somebody and put them over them as a supervisor because they had fresh out of college, right? White person. And they would say they hired them because they have a degree. They had a degree, right? And so they were guaranteed to be put into this position. So my mom and dad, they would complain a little bit, but they stayed on the job because they said, well, I don't have a degree, so how much can I complain? Because back then, the word was education was more important than experience. But now how things have flipped. Things have flipped to now, it's about experience, right? You can have all the degrees you want now, and it's just like, okay, well, that's great. That can get you in the door, but no, that's not going to get you put into one of the higher ranking positions because you don't have the experience. See how things have flipped? And I would be willing to say that was done on purpose, right? Back then, we wasn't flooding the schools and getting these degrees, right? So that wasn't a challenge to the system. But now we have all these, black and brown kids that are graduating and getting all these degrees. And so now how does the system deal with that? Oh, let's flip it. Let's move the goalpost. The goalpost now moves to, it's about the experience. It's about the experience, right? Now, am I knocking not going to college? No, I'm not. I went to college. My kids are going to college. Or have gone to college. My son has a master's degree. My oldest son has a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. My daughter has a bachelor's degree. My youngest son is working on his bachelor's degree, right? Education is power. We talk about that as a young person. You're gonna have to have some type of education. And for us black and brown kids, we can't just say, okay, I'm just gonna go to high school and that's just gonna do it. We have to work a little bit harder. But when we work it a little bit harder, are we being compensated for it? I'm willing to say, I don't think so. I'll give you a personal story. So I told you I went off to school. I went off to into the Marine Corps. And I did 20 years. And out of those 20 years, about 16 and a half of those years, I was a supervisor and a manager. And I was in this higher leadership and executive level of the military, of the Marine Corps. Right? Over 16 and a half years of leadership experience. When I came out and I retired, I did get a good job. I got a pretty good job, right? Making some good money with just a high school degree. And it was really, based off of my experience that got me this good job. But when it came down for me to get to be elevated up and get promoted to being a manager, although I was like, the number one and for like 3 or 4 years, I was either number one or number 2, 3, 4 person within the 400-man company as a business development manager, right? that when it came down to for me to be considered for a promotion, it was always said, I don't have a degree. I don't have a college degree. And so what they would do, they would hire people, and I will say this, they would hire white guys to come in that supposedly had a degree. Now I say supposedly because I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But they would get hired, right? And it bothered me because I'm like, man, I got all this experience. I'm doing the job. I'm busting my tail. I'm number one. I'm bringing this company millions of dollars. But I couldn't be considered for higher management because I didn't have a degree, right? And so I eventually left that company and I went on to another company and then I got into the six figures and was doing very well and had a hire. I was considered an executive there for a while. But then I wanted to go ahead and start my own company. But when I started my own company, I decided, let me go back to school. Let me get my degrees. Right? I wanted to get my degrees not because I just wanted to, make myself more marketable, although that was a part of it, but it was more towards, my children going off to school, I'm telling them how important it is for them to finish. So I need to go back and finish school. And I did that. And I went and got my degrees. Right? And so I said, let me test the market. Let me put my information out there. I know I'm going to have people knocking down my doors, blowing up my phone, sending me emails because, one, I got over 16.5 years of experience as a leader in the Marine Corps. I have 7 years as a successful business development manager in sales, right, in the government sales that made over tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars exactly, for this particular, for a couple of companies there. And I have my education. I just knew I was set. Crickets, right? Crickets for a while. And now, every now and then, although I have taken myself off the market, but my information is out there on LinkedIn, right? I get one of these recruiters to call, these job recruiters, and they'll call and say, hey, or they'll send me an email and we're interested in, hiring you. And think, here's what they want to hire me for. Low-level supervisor jobs. Even I had a couple of them ask, if I would consider an entry-level job. Just a little bit above entry level. And I respectfully would say to them, have you looked at my resume? I know you've seen my information off of LinkedIn because you referenced my information on LinkedIn that you saw. And how will you look at that and go 16.5 years of experience, have proven myself out there in the job market as a leader and have up to a master's degree within the field itself, and you want me to do a low-level supervisor job. Now, I'm a black man, so we know things don't work in our favor for the most part within this system, but I'm just trying to talk to you because everybody doesn't have black females, right? I have 2 black boys and black young men and a young black woman, female, as kids, right? So what I'm saying to you all is that we oftentimes we go out there and we push our children to go off and get this education, and we develop all this debt, right? All this debt, and they get jobs, but they not making enough money, so they spend the next 20, 30 years trying to pay off of this debt that earn interest, which I'm talking about these student loans, right? And they eventually start working outside of their job. A lot of kids go off and they get these degrees and in these different fields and end up working out in some other field because they can't either, one, get a job in that field, or 2, they just can't get promoted. Right? I want to read off some more stats to you. That when I say, the competition that we're against sometime, and I'm going to just say it this way. I want to read this to you. More than 100,000 fake degrees are sold each year in the United States alone. Of those, around 1/3 are postgraduate degrees. And he, meaning George Collins, who's the one that put this information out, who's a board member of the U.S.-based Council for Higher Education Accreditation. This is something he told CNN. He added that the bogus degrees would typically cost $1,000. So some of our competition that we're going up against, they have degrees that are fake. I read last night that there are over 500,000 fake degrees circulating or that's in the United States. 500,000. So what that means is that in your workplace, there's probably, that average out there, there's probably somebody within your workplace that has a fake degree. And that's your competition. Right? The debt that comes with all of this, I'm not sure sometimes. I sit back and I think about it. I'm not here to say it's not worth it, but listen to this. The average debt for a bachelor's degree is $28,400. For a master's degree, $71,000. $28,000 for, and that's being on. That's just an average. We know that it usually comes out to about close to $100,000, and that's it. If you're going for a bachelor's degree, it's $28,000. Master's $71,000. That's $100,000 debt that we and our children are getting. So I'm just not sure if we haven't been played here, and it seems that way, because when I go back to these fake degrees or these bogus degrees, listen to what they're saying, where they are. This is the federal. It says here, the federal agents have identified 12,500 graduates of 40 fake schools. And those who have purchased bogus degrees included federal, state, and county employees who are employed in business, education, law enforcement, military, and in the medical field. I mean, come on now. These are people that have fake degrees that saying they have the experience, and they have the studies, they have all of this, knowledge, who are in business, education, law enforcement, military, and the medical field. That's scary. Yet we're up here, going in debt, trying to compete, and even when we get these degrees, we're making less than a high school student. All right? So I want to get to this point. Again, I'm not bashing. I just want you to think about this, because everybody is not meant to go off to college. I was one of those kids. When I came out of high school, I shouldn't have went off to school. Right? I wasn't ready. My study habits were terrible. I just wasn't ready. And thank God I woke up one day after spending 2.5 years at school and realized I needed to move on. I eventually came back when I was ready, but every child is not ready out of high school, whether it's study habits, whether it's emotionally, mentally, physically. It's a lot of things we have to be very careful with that. But what I want you to start thinking about, because we have gotten away from this as black people, is trade school. For some reason, that's like a bad word when you start talking to us about, hey, sending your kid off to trade school, which is a 2-year degree, right? I want to share something with you, my experience. I went off to school, and I told you, I went off to college, and I only went off to college because everybody else was going off to college. My friends was going off to college. I was like, I'm going off to college too. And my interest was really just playing football for the most part, to be honest with you, right? And I get there, and eventually I realized that my best friend, because I just wasn't paying attention to what he was doing, he went off to school also in the same city, but he went off into a trade school. I had no clue what a trade school was, right? And I even laughed about it, with some of my friends, like, what is he doing? Why is he going to this school? We over here, and we having a good time, and we partying, at this 4-year school, and we got all the fraternities and sororities and all that stuff. And at his school, they have none of that. I was like, what is he doing? Well, he went off to be an electrician. So in 2 years, he got his degree. 2 years and a few months, I had a V8 and woke up and said, I'm blowing my parents' money. Let me take my butt and go off to the military. Right? He has been on that job for over 20 plus years, making 6 figures. Same job. Right? Now, all of us that went off to school, how many jobs? We done went through 3, 4, 5, 6 different jobs. Right? Not saying that we're doing bad, But look what we had to go through, and most of us is not making nowhere near what he's making by going off to a trade school. And so, we have been, I don't want to say hoodwinked, because there was a time where, like I told you, it was difficult to go to school. Now all of a sudden they made it easy for us to go to school, but now it's not about the degree, because it's just a paper now. It's about your experience. And we got away from the trade schools, because we used to be the plumbers, we used to be the electrician, we used to be the mechanic and the construction workers and all the other different things that are out there. We got away from that. We ran off to the thinking we was going to make big money. And it's proven we're not making nowhere near big money. But who is making big money? The trade schools. I just told you, electrician, he's making over $100,000. Google it. Trade schools and see. You come up with dental hygienist who's making close to $80,000. Right? Many jobs over in the hospital that's making, that do the sonograms, that's making close, fresh out of college, making close to $75,000 a year. Trade school. Something we need to get back into considering. And it's only 2 years, and you're not going to be, almost, $30,000 in debt, or you're not going to be $100,000 in debt that our children are going to have to pay on this thing 30, 40 years just to try to get it paid off, and the interest rate keep growing. It's just a system of setup. Right? Again, I'm not here to bash college. I'm just saying we need to think about it, and we need to be more strategic in how we go about it and how we push our children and where we push our children. And, something else to consider, we need to be involved with our kids when they start picking the degrees to go after. You can go to a college and probably, I would bet money that 50 or 60% of our black kids saying they're there for a business administration degree. What is that? What is it going to get you? Back in the day, it used to, guarantee you a supervisor manager job. Well, you're not getting that. And in the competition, if everybody's going, you got a business administration degree, there's too much competition. We need to start looking at what's out there and what's competitive and what does the job market need, right? We need to start talking about those things. We need to start Googling those things. We need to get people that, do this for a living and require their expertise in this to help. There's people out there that can help you and help you understand and find what's the best, what's the job market look like now for education, for degrees out there that are needed. All right. So I just want to, share that information with you. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm not bashing white people. I'm not bashing black people. I'm not saying, what we're doing here is wrong. I just say we need to take a deeper look, a deeper dive into looking at all of this. Because the last thing, especially being a parent, we want to do is just set our kids up for failure. They get this education and all they have is debt. There's a lot of individuals out there, and that's white and black people, that has a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and a PhD degree, and they're working at a fast food. Or they're working at a lower level job that has nothing to do with their expertise. All right. And so consider trade school. You will be surprised that the jobs that are out there that are considered trades that make over $60,000, $70,000 a year coming straight out of school. Right? And so we need to balance ourselves and not get fooled here, because we're going off to school and we're doing great stuff, but a lot of us are not getting these jobs, especially our black young men. All right, we're struggling in the sector of trying to, in the work sector. We may have all these degrees, but they're not hiring us like they're hiring our African American sisters. And that's something we can talk about at another time, but I'm just telling you, you got to make yourself more marketable. And, so consider, taking a look at the trade school. All right. again, this was just my opinion. I would love to hear back from you. Give me your opinion. If you think I'm wrong, tell me. Let's have some dialogue here. And if you want to say you think I'm wrong, then put up some statistics, because again, just because this is what I found here, I'm pretty sure there's something to go against that. All right, but let's have some dialogue so we can, educate one another, and especially we can do much better for our children out there. All right, so I'm going to be doing this once a week. I'm going to pick a topic, and I'm going to come at you hopefully around the same time, and I'm going to put it out there, and I hope to hear back from you. So if you like what you're hearing, hit the like button and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, to be a subscriber, if you select to be a subscriber, then that means when I put out a video, you get an alert, you get a notification that I put a new video up. And then share this with other people. Again, I just want us to have dialogue, and so that we can not only do better for ourselves, but especially do better for the generations and the generations behind us. Okay? Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. Until the next time, we'll talk again on Str8Talks.